I'm Desiree Stanley. Welcome to Pockets of Knowledge podcast. I'm here today with Melissa Yamashita. Welcome, Melissa.
Hi, thanks, Des, for having me on.
Thank you so much for being on. I'm so excited to learn a little bit more about nutrition and health. Taking care of ourselves is so important. These last couple of years have been very challenging for everyone. And nutrition is such a vital part of making sure that we're healthy, right?
It really is. It really is. Yeah, totally
Okay,
agree.
great. So first, I'd like to do a little bit of background. Melissa and I met about 10 years ago when I began my running journey. And she was a fantastic training partner and continues to be. She helps to train other runners. She helps to get runners to the finish line at a certain pace.
Yeah.
So just a fantastic coach, all around friend. And so this topic for you is going to be easy. You're a teacher by trade.
Yes.
And I think this just fits right in with that. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about you as a teacher and, kind of how you got into the idea of teaching nutrition?
Okay. Well, first of all, I really want to thank you for all those kind words. I think that's it makes my heart, my soul sing when I hear people do that, because I really I had tried to be intentional with how I talk with people, and I just, to know that it's made an impact on you, it really means a lot to me. So a little bit of background. I had a kind of an interesting growing up. I was raised in Saudi Arabia, and my father worked for Lockheed Martin over there. So it was just a very different than your typical, probably very different than your typical kind of childhood. But as a result of that, we were offered the opportunity to travel a lot. And I think that traveling, my mother is from the Philippines, so she just has this, she wasn't a native to Saudi Arabia, nor was she native to, the United States. So she just loved to get out and travel and see new cultures and new things. And that really instilled in me and in my brother, I think too, just this natural kind of adventurous spirit. So that brought me to, I went to college. I have a degree in a Bachelor's of Science degree in Nutritional Science from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo here in California. And at that time, though, this is in the 90s, the early 90s, the main focus there for nutrition was to work as a registered dietitian in a clinical situation or in a hospital. And that really wasn't where my heart was at. I just knew that I loved food and I wanted to stay in that. So fast forward, I went traveling and I ended up living in Argentina, and I taught English in Argentina. And I found, wow, this teaching thing is really fun. It's really rewarding. I could see my students learn English and grow, and that was really cool. And at the time I learned Spanish, and I thought, wow, maybe I'll be a Spanish teacher. And then that's what I came back to the United States, and I got my credential in Spanish. So currently my full-time job is I am a high school Spanish teacher, and I've been doing that for about 25 years. But nutrition has always kind of been in that back area. That, as a matter of fact, my husband and I met at what used to Whole Foods used to be called Bread of Life. It was a co-op back then, so a very new idea, and we met there. And so that's food related. I've tried a ton of different ways to eat, and I love different kinds of foods and stuff. So food has always been kind of back there, and then teaching has been up in the forefront. So it's finally gotten to a part in my life. I've come to a part in my life. My kids are older now. My son just started college. Wow. And so I was able to kind of follow this passion of mine, this journey of mine, into nutrition. And along this way as well, I started getting into exercise and fitness, and how can you make your body healthier and feel better about yourself. But then at that same time too, I wanted to be able to eat the kinds of things that I wanted to. I mean, I'm a really avid, I love my craft IPAs. I am not going to give those up. I love, socializing and going out with friends, and I don't want to give that up. But how can I weave those into a healthy lifestyle, which I think is totally doable. totally doable. So that's kind of where I'm at now. Year 25 of teaching high school and year 1 of coaching nutrition. Yeah.
Excellent. I love it.
Yeah.
And such an interesting background. And knowing you as long as I have, I didn't know until today that you grew up in Saudi Arabia. And I was kind of surprised by that because when we have these long runs, we get into all kinds of topics, right? I mean, we have
Yes.
these discussions that are far and wide. And it was just kind of like, wow, I didn't know that about Melissa. How
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. It is
So
pretty.
it really is. And I love that, I mean, we're all different people, right? We
Mhm.
come from different backgrounds, and it's so fantastic to meet people who, can teach you new ideas, right?
Yeah.
And from their
Yeah.
experiences of their growing up and all of that, it's just fantastic. And
Yeah.
so, so tell us a little bit, like, if I'm somebody who is looking at, I want to start some sort of nutrition plan, like what's a good place to start? What are a couple things I could do?
So I truly believe in whole foods and let food be thy medicine type of thing. So get back to the basics. I want to bring everybody back to the basics. What are some simple things that you can do, that
Yes.
are basic that you have access to, so if it's adding a little bit more water to
Mm.
your daily hydration, adding another serving of fruit, even vegetables, anything that's whole and that you can just that's good and raw kind of, that you can just add things. I don't want to take things away from people, because whenever you have this mindset of taking away, and I feel like that's what diets have done in the past, they want to take and take and take away. I don't want to do that, because I don't want people to freak out, and that's not what life
Right.
is about ultimately, right? I want to add, but how can you add wholesome, nutritious, healthy foods that are going to help you feel your best, right? So
Right.
that's what I would suggest. Look at what you're doing right now. How can you add a little bit more? How maybe it's movement too. How can you add just a tiny bit more? So, and
That's a
what is
great point.
sustainable for you? What's sustainable for
Right.
you? Because what's sustainable for you is going to be very different than what's sustainable for me, or what's sustainable for the next person. So let's be realistic. Let's be practical. What can you do and sustain?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And so you did say about not necessarily taking anything away, but perhaps there might be something that might be a good idea to take away. And what would
Well,
you say that would be?
yeah, so I mean, you've always heard these things about nothing in extreme, or nothing, everything in moderation. I would always suggest cut down on drinking your calories, which includes my beer. I've had to, I've cut that down. Your sugary drinks, your cut down on refined, processed, sugary things like that. Cut that down. I'm not going to tell you to take away completely, but cut that down and see how that feels. My philosophy is, when I'm working with clients, I'm focusing on protein, mainly protein, veggies, movement, and water. So those 4 things, very, like I said, very basic. So I will give you a protein goal, and I will give you a general kind of vegetable goal, number of servings to hit. And once you hit those, and you hit your water goal, which tends to be more than some people drink, I don't think there's a whole lot of room for much else. You know what I mean? So you fill yourself on those things that are going to nourish you and enrich your life, and then you can have those other little treats, but in moderation.
Right, right. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'm a pescatarian, so I
Yes.
don't eat animal protein other than fish.
Yes.
So, would you work with people to help, kind of tailor this so that it makes sense for what they are comfortable with?
Of course, of course. I mean, I've done a lot of different diets, a lot of different food plans, habits. So, vegan and vegetarian, but again, it's about, I was a vegetarian for a while because I worked at Bread of Life. We were all very, very I don't want to say hippie, but we were just, a lot of people, it was very hip to be vegetarian back then, and vegan even. But I
Yeah.
was a horrible vegetarian. I was eating all the pastries because they didn't have meat. I was eating all of the, anything that didn't have, I mean, Oreos are vegan for Pete's sake, you know? So of course you take whatever you have. And again, what are some little tweaks that we can do to make it a little bit healthier for you, to help you reach your goals? Right. And so that
Right.
everybody's different. Another thing that I've learned on this journey is that everybody is so different, and everybody at different parts in their lives are very different. As I'm
That's
hitting
true.
my 50s, I'm having to rethink my rethink and undo some of those thought processes I had from when I was in my 30s, even 40s, and I could go out with friends and have a couple of beers, at night, and eat snacks and appetizers, and then the next day get up at 5 and whip out, some strong miles. Can't do that anymore. So we need to rethink our reevaluate, maybe reflect and reevaluate kind of our how we go about things. Totally doable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right on that because as we are getting older, our metabolisms are changing as well, right? So that's
Mhm.
something else that we need to take into consideration when we're looking at what we're eating and how much we're eating. And it's not always about just more workout,
No,
right? You
no.
can't outrun a bad diet, as they say.
Right. But you can be smarter. And one of the pitfalls I see a lot of women our age fall into is that they see that menopausal weight gain and they try
Mhm.
to cut back on calories to the point where it becomes detrimental to them. So I would like to, that healthy, like again, nourish a strong body. You want to,
Right.
a strong body. So I also emphasize, in a side note, I emphasize and and movement, daily movement. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and lifting weights for us as we get older, even starting in your 20s, right?
Correct.
Lifting
Yes.
weights is fantastic for our bones, our
Yes.
muscles. It's just all around benefit, right?
Yes. Muscle is much more metabolically efficient than fat, meaning that if you have more muscle, the more muscle you have on your body, the more calories your body will burn at rest than if you have a more fat. So it's that post exercise burn, they call it EPOC, post exercise burn, that's going to keep firing up your metabolism, and that comes with building muscle, which comes with lifting heavy weights. You are not going to get bulky. You are going to be lean and beautiful and strong and empowered. That's the
I love
thing.
it. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's awesome.
Yeah. So tell me real quick, what did you have to do to prepare yourself to launch this nutrition and coaching business? Like learning, what did you have to get any kind of certificates?
Oh
Was it
yeah,
part
yeah.
of your college education?
Well, so I do have a background. Like I said, I have a degree in nutritional science, but that was, 25 plus years ago. I constantly, because it does interest me. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of reading and stuff. It's usually for my own personal benefit. But for this certification, I am a certified nutrition coach through an organization called Precision Nutrition, and so they focus a lot more on behavior change. They focus a lot more on, individual, the psycho, emotional, social, whole being, right? As opposed to just the nutrition. So they really focus on how do you help a client, and guide a client, as opposed to just, I don't hand out meal plans. I can't do meal plans because I'm not a nutritionist first and foremost, but I'm not here to tell you specifically, what to do. I give you guidelines, but then I also guide you through that and help you come to these kinds of decisions by yourself. But the long and short of it is, it's an organization, and amazing. I really enjoyed the process. It's called Precision Nutrition. I am a certified level 1. And it's really focused on behavior change. And that's
Okay.
what I want. That's what I really was looking for in an organization to get my certification in. Because honestly, as a client, the clients are going to ask me, how do I reach my goals? They don't want to know about the Krebs cycle, about your, about the insulin response in your muscles. They don't need to know that. And if somebody does need to know that, I could say, hold on, I'll get back to you tomorrow, and then quickly brush up on it if I need to. I have enough understanding to explain it quickly, but if you want to go more into a deep dive, then I can do that as well,
Yeah.
So it was really a good course for guiding through behavior change as it deals with nutrition and health.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And you just mentioned that you like to listen to podcasts. There's some podcasts that have been beneficial for you. So what
Yeah.
would you suggest? What are some good ones for us to listen to?
So I have like a 25-minute commute each way. And then also, walking the dogs and things like that. I listen to audiobooks or I listen to podcasts. First audiobook, if you haven't read this book, go out and buy it right now. It is called Atomic Habits. It's by
Yes.
James Clear. Yeah, right.
Yes.
There was a point where I was just gifting them out like candy to everybody. You have a birthday here. Here's a book you need to read. Oh, it's, Christmas. Oh, here kids, let's read this book. And I am constantly his quotes, his one of the quotes that resonates in my head is, everything you do is a vote for the type of person that you want to be. Right? So everything that you do, and I tell this to my students, everything you do is bringing you closer to your goals or further away from your goals. Think about what kind of person you want to be. What
Yeah.
goals, what habits does that person have? Now, what are you going to do to get there? So
Right.
James Clear, Atomic Habits is a name. So another podcast that I've been listening to really on a kick lately is a podcast called The Mindset Mentor. And it's a guy by name of Rob Dial. And what I really like about it is there are 15 to 20-minute, very short, just boom, boom lessons that you can learn about how to train your mind. Like this morning, I listened to a podcast about 4 things to do to learn anything faster. And it's
Oh,
fascinating, right? He's just
yeah.
tons of work with psychological, all this stuff, and talked to a lot of like the top thought leaders, so he's really intelligent and he just likes to share his knowledge, and it's super fascinating. And then another one, lastly, from nutrition. Excuse me, I follow this woman named E.C. Sinkowski, and the name of her podcast is called Optimized Nutrition. And what I like about her, I've gotten a lot of things from her. She really boils down nutrition and puts it into layman's terms. So, she
Love
just
it.
boils down science, excuse me, about nutrition, puts it into
Okay.
layman's terms so anybody can understand it. And then she's like me, where she just gets back to the basics. People will ask her questions about the timing of food and nutrition. How important is this versus this? And she's like, until you get ABC down and 100%, don't even worry about X, Y, and Z, because you're not there yet. It's just very basic, straight to the point, and again, boiled down for everybody. So those are some of the things that I like to listen to, and I can always get some really good. Oh, and then there's also, of course, Rich Roll. Have you listened to Rich Roll podcast? He's
No.
an ultra runner who at one point had an addiction problem, and he
Mm.
was a high-powered attorney, and then he just became sober, and he's an ultra competitor, and now he's got this podcast, and just amazing. He talks to very like motivational people who have David Goggins, Robin Arzon, all these people that I just listen to. I'm like, wow. And so he's a really motivational speaker as well in the sports world, I think. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah,
So
those are some
yeah,
great, good
there's
ones.
so many great
Um,
podcasts out there.
yeah, I'm looking forward to checking into those. But going back to working with your clients, can
Yes.
you tell me a little bit more about what you focus on when you're working with a client?
Yeah, so I really enjoy doing the one-on-one client, because a one-on-one work with a client, because I want to be able to get to know them. I want to, what makes you tick? What kind of life do you lead right now? How can I work with you to
Yeah.
optimize your health within that time frame, within that life frame already? So some of the things we do is, I I am a huge proponent of motivational, quotes. I do this with my students in school every day, every morning. They have a new motivational quote and we talk about it for a bit. Same thing with my clients. I just shoot them random motivational texts. It's usually a motivational Monday type of text, but then I reserve the right to shoot them on a Tuesday or a Thursday or a Friday even. So there's a lot of like communication. And then we do, our weekly check-ins and things like that. And then I like to give them some challenges. So one of the clients that I'm working with now, she told me that she has more difficulty getting her steps in, her movement in on weekends. She's a teacher like I am. During the day, when we're at work, getting your steps in is not an issue because you're running around with the kids and everything. But on the weekends, it's more of a challenge for her. So I'm like, okay, your challenge for this 2-week period is to do new activities. I want you to find 4 new activities that you can do with your wife. Okay. And she told me she signed up for a jujitsu class. I'm like, wow, that's amazing, And so just push her a little bit out of her comfort zone. You're getting your steps in. You're spending time with your spouse or your family, your loved one, right? Somebody who supports you, and you're having fun. And
I love
hopefully
it.
you're not getting cauliflower ears or something, but that's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I can't
So
expect that to see that so much in jujitsu, but maybe
you never know.
yeah,
Yeah.
boxing for sure if you're into that. But
Um,
okay, so what are some of the challenges specifically? Like you mentioned
so
steps for this one
yes.
individual, but so
Yes.
is there something else
Yes.
that you
And
recommend?
this other one that I heard on this podcast is called Stop, Start, and Continue.
Okay.
So, this is something you want to ruminate on for a little bit, but ultimately, essentially, it comes down to you want to think about your future self. Picture your future self, but not what your future self looks like, not just what your future self looks like. What are those habits that your future self embodies in order to
Yeah.
look the way he or she looks in the future, right?
Right.
So your future self is stronger. Your future self is maybe, a little bit leaner, 5 or 10 pounds leaner. Your future self is able to do XYZ. What is that your future self had to do in order to get there? Had to maybe eat more salad than she does pizza. Maybe, get up a little bit earlier to get those workouts in. Think about those habits. Now, stop, start, continue. Stop. What's one thing that you are going to stop right now that your future self doesn't do? Write that down. And I'm very big on journaling, is that you write it down, just write it down, right? Because it makes that mind body connection.
Absolutely.
Start. What's one thing that your future self does that you can start right now? Write
Okay.
that down and then continue. You want to acknowledge what you are doing well in the moment. What's one thing that you are doing well right now that your future self also does, right? Write that down. That's your stop, start, continue. So I love that challenge. And I'm hoping to see some really, again, mindset shifts, right? Because if you don't have that mindset shift, you are going to continue on and you're not going to hit your goals. Another
Right.
James Clear quote is, you do not rise to the challenge of your goals, you fall to your systems. You have to have
Ah,
those systems in place or else you won't reach your goals. And the habits is all about building habits, is about building and reinforcing systems. And that is what is going to get you to your goals. It's not just, you can't envision something but not put the work in and expect it to come true.
that's
It's not
right.
going to happen. You have to do that hard work, right?
Absolutely.
Another challenge kind of too that's coupled with these is plan for your pitfalls. We don't do that. We plan for, what if everything's going to go well? But what about if everything goes, crappy? What if
Right.
everything doesn't go the way you plan? What are you going to do? Because you don't want to let that one pitfall to help to spiral you back into this, oh, I can't do it. Oh, I'm not worthy enough. Oh, that's everybody told me I wasn't going to do it. And that's, I'm just proving them right. And, all that negative self-talk. So
Right.
pitfalls, plan for them. So when they come up, it's not a surprise. You're going to have a pitfall. We all have pitfalls. You all have mistakes. You all have whatever. Just plan for it and then get past it. Right.
Right.
So, what else do I do? You know, another challenge on this break that we have is new recipes. Find some new recipes. How can you incorporate that into your meal plan for your lunch for when you're, you know, right now we're on a break from school. And so plan for those new recipes. And then how are you going to work that into your lunch, your work week lunch, right? Is it going to travel well? Is it tasty? Is it, you know, does it hit your the things that you want to eat? Does it have vegetables? Does it have protein? Is it, you know, so those types of things.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I
And
really. Mhm.
I was just going to say, and you're right. You've got to find something that you know you can carry forward
Yes,
when it's back to I'm at the school all day, or I'm at my office all day, or whatever. Is that going to travel well? That thing that you're preparing. That's a great point as well.
right.
Um, so what are some of your daily practices that you feel have helped to optimize your health?
Yeah. So there's a couple of things that I do, and a lot of it is because of our discussions, Des. That the miracle morning, you know, establishing a
Yes.
morning routine, which is also one of my going to be one of my challenges. You know, and then over COVID, I was able to incorporate some of new habits that I've been able to carry on now. So I work out in the mornings. I work out in the mornings. That's when I get it done. You know, my mind hasn't woken up yet, so hasn't figured out, you know, how tired I am. My friends, my support system, my training partners, we all wake up early in the morning. We all train early in the morning, so I have people who are waiting for me and counting on me. So I get up every morning. I have my journal. I take a time to it. You can call it meditate. You can call it a moment of silence. You can call it pray, whatever you want to call it. I call it morning prayer. Then I write a couple of things of down in my journal. It starts off with gratitude. It kind of goes into, you know, some of the things that I really want to hit my big goal for the day. You know, at the end of the day, if I do this one thing, it will be a good day. So I do my journaling. I do my I drink a big tumbler of water just to rehydrate me. And then too, I have a couple of goals that I have for myself throughout the whole day. I expect to hit 12,000 to 14,000 steps every day. I drink my 80 ounces of water. I eat my, you know, all my protein. I do 4 to 5. I'm trying to up it, 4 to 5 servings of vegetables. And then at night, in the evening when I'm watching television with my husband, I stretch for 20 minutes every night, and then I write in my journal. Like my thing, did I hit my goal? If I didn't hit my goal, why didn't I hit my goal? What can I do differently next time? So those are some things that I've been able to incorporate into my day. And it honestly doesn't take that long. You know, the
Right.
journaling and everything takes a couple of minutes. The stretching, I do 20 minutes of stretching so that, you know, my meal prep I do on Sundays, and then I kind of get everything together the night before. Oh, I also
Sure.
do a morning smoothie. When I found that this really works well for me. I blend vegetables, frozen zucchini, frozen spinach, and protein powder, and I have that ready for when I go off into my workout. So that'll sustain me for my workout. And those have been just really um lifesavers. I think they're staples of my life, even when, you know, at night when I come home, even after going out with friends and maybe I've had a beer or two, I come home and I make my smoothie for the next day, and I write in my journal because that's what I do. It's become such a part of my identity, right? This
Yes.
is what Melissa does.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's just been really helpful for me. Yeah.
That's excellent. And I want to go back to the point that you made about the miracle morning. And
Hmm.
even just a step back from that, one of the things that you and I decided to do in December of 2019, after I read a book called Fearvana,
Yeah.
and I'll put the information for the author in the show notes.
Yeah.
I read that book and it was fantastic. And, you know, really talking about the idea of accountability partner. And so I reached out to you and said,
Hmm.
hey, do you want to do this with me? And you were like, absolutely, let's do it.
Yes.
And then it was 2020.
Yes.
And then it was March of 2020
Yeah.
when, the world was kind of upended with COVID. But we carried it through, right? We've continued our accountability to each other.
Yeah.
And that Miracle Morning, reading that book by Hal Elrod,
Mm,
fantastic. I can't say enough good
mm,
things about that book,
mhm.
and how it's changed, my life. I know
Yeah.
it's, made an impact on yours as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
Um, it is really life changing. And these small habits, these small changes that we make add up to a big difference, right? And
Yes.
so, again, the small changes that we make with our eating, right?
Yes.
Introducing the things that are really important and good, sustaining foods for our body, right? And maybe taking away some that aren't so good
Yeah.
some of the time, because it's okay, right?
Yeah. 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 My three things, and I had this on my website. Intentionality. Be intentional with everything you do, because you can be intentional or in your life, or you can let your life just fall into whatever happens, into default mode. And I think a lot of us live a lot of our lives in default mode. So now be intentional with your life, whatever you're doing, be consistent, and make sure whatever you do is sustainable. So intentionality, consistency, sustainability. Those are three things I want to focus on with my clients and my business. Yeah, totally. Totally.
Fantastic. So speaking of your business, how
Yeah.
can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach Melissa if they have questions?
So I'm desperately trying to get my website should be live in a couple of days. The name of my business is My Nutrition My Way. It's a little bit of a play on my initials, Melissa Yamashita or Yamashita. But it's also the my part because it is very personal. Nutrition is a very personal thing to everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't try and take that away from you. So it's My Nutrition My Way. You can email me, mynutritionmyway@gmail.com. You can, I've got a Facebook page, again, My Nutrition My Way. Instagram with the underscores, my underscore nutrition underscore my nutrition, my underscore way.
Yeah.
That's a lot of underscores. And then, like I said, my business will be live. My website will be live in a couple of days, mynutritionmyway.com. So
Excellent.
yeah, yes, I'm
Fantastic.
looking forward to, just meeting a bunch of new people and helping others kind of really on their path to optimizing their nutrition. Yeah, and their lifestyle.
Fantastic.
Flavors, yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Melissa.
Thank you.
I
Thank you so much, Desiree, for just being a part of my life and for pushing me on this little journey and for being with me every step of the way. And you're so encouraging to me. And you're my go-to girl. You know that, right? Too. Whenever I need something, Desiree will know. So yeah, I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for those kind words. I appreciate them as well. And it's such an honor to have you be a part of my life, and you are
Yeah.
such an inspiration as well. And I thank you again for coming on today. I'm so excited for you and this new business that you've launched. And yay!
Yay.
And the people's lives that you're going to touch. It's fantastic, and I love it. I can't wait to just hear how it goes.
Thank you.
So. Thanks again, Melissa, and
Okay.
we'll talk soon.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.